the unique mindset that helps rich people get rich fast. Part 1. The transformation. Most people grow up with the same mental map: study hard, get a stable job, save money, work hard to get promoted, and if they're lucky, retire safely in a few decades. This is the default mindset, the one that society has wired into us. It teaches us that the path to success is to follow a proven path. But while most people follow that path, a small group of people take a different path, and they are the rich, who rise to prominence in just a few years. The difference isn't in the starting point. It's in the mindset. Rich people have a very different kind of mindset, a creative mindset. They don't react to the world. They actively design the world they want to live in. The average person asks, "What should I do for a living?" Rich people ask, "How can I build a system that creates value, whether I'm there or not?" Average people seek stability. Rich people seek leverage. Average people fear risk. Rich people learn to manage risk. Average people try to do their jobs well. Rich people try not to work forever. Elon Musk wrote about the 5 biggest problems facing humanity as a student. He didn't wait for someone to give him an opportunity. He figured out what was worth doing and paved the way himself. Here's the key. Rich people don't follow a predetermined path. They create their own path. They don't just work within the system. They create the system. And it all starts with a change in mindset. Not everyone is born with favorable conditions, but everyone has the right to choose how they think. That's the starting point of every comeback. In the next section, we will look at one of the key thinking models that helps them make decisions faster, more accurately, and with fewer mistakes. It is this model that has helped them turn a small idea into an empire. Part 2. Thinking models that help rich people make accurate decisions. In the modern world, information is everywhere. Any decision seems right if presented convincingly enough. But what makes rich people different is not that they have more information, but that they possess a thinking model that helps them filter out the noise and choose the right action. One of the models they use regularly is probabilistic thinking. This is a way of thinking not in terms of right or wrong, but in terms of what is the probability of this happening. Rich people do not try to guess 100% correctly. They just need to make more right decisions than wrong ones over time. And that is enough to win. 1. Think probabilistically, not emotionally. When faced with a choice, say, investing in a new project, hiring someone, or launching a product, the average person asks, "Does this feel right to me?" The rich ask, "What is the probability of success? If it fails, is the risk acceptable? If it succeeds, how many times the reward is worth the risk?" Therein lies the difference. Emotions often exaggerate or distort reality, but probabilistic thinking keeps things sober. It doesn't promise that you'll always be right, but it does guarantee that, over time, you'll be wrong less often. Jeff Bezos, founder of Amazon, once said, "Even if you're only right 51% of the time, if the margin of error is very large, you're still winning by a large margin." This mindset allows the rich to make decisions quickly without being paralyzed by the fear of being wrong. 2. Always consider expected value. Expected value, EV, is a formula that many investors and founders use to evaluate every option. It not only looks at the chance of success, but also takes into account the level of consequences or benefits that come with it. Suppose Project A has an 80% chance of success, but only makes a profit of $1 billion. Project B has only a 20% chance of success, but if it wins, it will make a profit of $20 billion. A person with a classic mindset will choose a because it is sure. A person with a probabilistic mindset will look at EV. EV-A is equal to 0.8 times 1 equals 0.8. EV-B is equal to 0.2 times 20 equals 4. Project B has an expected value 5 times higher. This mindset makes the rich dare to take calculated risks, as long as the reward is big enough. That's why they're not afraid of small failures, because they understand that a big right can make up for 5 or 10 small mistakes. 3. Understand that wrong can still be the right decision. An interesting thing about probabilistic thinking is that it teaches us to accept the paradox. I can make the right decision, but the result is still failure. For example, you bet on a 70% chance of winning. You research carefully, evaluate correctly, but unfortunately it falls into the remaining 30%. Failure. Ordinary people will torment themselves. If only I hadn't done that. Rich people understand. That decision is still right, just the result is not as expected. and they continue to make the next decision, using the same model, without being broken by emotions. For probabilistic thinking is not a technique, but a habit of life. It penetrates every aspect, choosing partners, choosing markets, choosing the time to withdraw. Rich people train themselves to think not in terms of should I or shouldn't I, but in terms of likelihood of success. What are the risks and rewards? This makes them calmer in the chaos, make decisions when others hesitate, and rarely let emotions cloud their judgment. In the next section, we will look at a type of thinking that the rich use to double their learning and improvement speed, something that puts them years ahead of the market, not by being smarter, but by learning faster, deeper, and more effectively. Part 3. The thinking that helps the rich learn faster and get ahead of the market. The average person thinks that the rich are richer because they have special information. But in reality, most of the information is public. The issue is not who knows what, but who understands it deeper, faster, and puts it into action sooner. The rich have a unique ability, deep learning thinking, not rote learning, learning for the sake of knowing, learning to interpret, apply, and reuse knowledge in other contexts. This is why some people can read a book and change the direction of their lives, while others read 100 books and still make no progress. 1. Rich people don't learn to know, they learn to apply. A normal person can finish reading an article, find it interesting, and leave it there. Rich people are different. They ask themselves, how can this be applied to my life, my work, or my strategy? For them, each new idea is a brick that can be used to build another layer on the system they are building. The question is not what do I know, but how will I use this? The difference is not in the speed of reading, but in the quality of the way you digest knowledge. This is why many rich people can learn from failure, from an email, from a conversation, because they don't wait for knowledge to come to them in a structured way. They proactively turn everything into a lesson. 2. They think in principles, not in details. The average person is often stuck on the surface of information, facts, figures, specific situations. The rich find a way to peel it back to see the core principles underneath. For example, when they hear about a startup that failed because it grew too fast, they don't just memorize the story. They ask, what principles were violated? Was it a cash flow problem, a system problem, a people problem? Am I making the same mistake on a smaller scale? This principle of thinking helps them learn once and apply it everywhere. A failure in the technology industry can teach them lessons that can be applied in real estate, finance, or human resources management. 3. They continually ask questions to deepen their learning. Deep learning does not happen through passive reception. Rich people have a habit of questioning themselves during the learning process. Some questions they often use. What about this contradicts my old beliefs? Am I misunderstanding the nature of the information? What does this information contradict that I already believe to be true? Who disagrees with this view and why? Questions like these help them fight complacency, break out of their comfort zone, and maintain active curiosity, a very rare mental asset. 4. Systematic thinking helps them connect knowledge. Rich people do not learn knowledge in fragments. They seek to create networks where ideas, principles, and experiences are connected to each other into a separate mental operating system. This helps them make quick decisions in complex situations because they have built a reflex system. They do not need to look up or analyze from scratch each time. They just activate the connection from what they have learned before. For example, a seasoned investor does not only study finance. They understand market psychology, law, technology, global capital flows, and they use this knowledge to make decisions with more depth and vision than others. 5. Rich people learn from real feedback, not from imagination. They do not spend months thinking it through before doing anything. They do it early, measure the results, and then learn from real feedback. They understand that no model will last forever without being tested in practice. Practice is the only place where theory is confirmed or refuted. Therefore, rich people learn in parallel with action. Each time they try, experience is a refinement of thinking. It is this constant feedback that helps them learn faster, more practically, and stay ahead of others who are still thinking, pondering, or waiting for the right moment. The difference is this. Ordinary people learn to know. Rich people learn to use. And they use it to build a thinking advantage that others cannot copy.